Hello and welcome back to The Critique. Today we're digging into a piece about Sydney Sweeney's new Siren lingerie line.
And specifically, how the whole thing contrasts with the public's take on Sabrina Carpenter.
Exact. So let's just get right into it. The first thing that hits you is this massive tonal conflict, which really brings us to the first big opportunity, structuring the argument.
Yeah.
The problem is the piece just oscillates erratic between really serious economic context and then, trivial internet stuff.
It really does.
And it ends up kind of diluting the credibility of the whole business analysis.
Honestly, it gave me whiplash. I'm reading the first page, and the writer sets up this, incredibly high-stakes scenario.
Right.
It is. They talk about a supposed billion-dollar angel investment from Jeff Bezos. I mean, that's a massive claim.
It is.
It sets the table for a really serious high-level business critique. I was ready for a Harvard Business Review breakdown.
Right. You're in the boardroom.
Exactly. I'm in the boardroom. But then, almost in the same breath, I think it's literally the next sentence, the text pivots to a joke.
The Large Hadron Collider joke?
The Large Hadron Collider joke. It completely threw me. You go from Wall Street to a Reddit thread in 3 seconds.
Yeah, it undercuts the weight of everything you just established.
It really does. And it begs the question, what is this piece? Is it a business breakdown or is it a reaction video script?
It feels like it's trying to be both at the same time.
And the transitions just aren't there. You can't talk about brand launches and then immediately read a mean tweet with a physics punchline. It just doesn't connect.
I agree. It feels scattered. So, okay, here's the fix. The writer needs to group the evidence into distinct pillars, like the business case versus the cultural reaction.
That would solve 90% of the flow issues right there.
Totally.
Imagine if you established the business case first. You dedicate the first chunk of this solely to the money.
Yep.
You cluster the Bezos investment, the comparisons to George Clooney's Casamigos, Ryan Reynolds' gin brand.
Which are in the text, but they're just kind of buried.
Exactly. Pull them out. Make a solid section that establishes Sweeney's financial viability. Prove that the industry takes her seriously before we even get to what Twitter thinks.
So you set the stakes first.
You set the stakes. Then, once that foundation is built, you move everything else into a second section. The cultural reaction.
Right. The male gaze, the competition theory, all the specific tweets, that comes after.
And you know what's funny? If you do that, the Large Hadron Collider joke might actually land.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because if it's framed within the context of public perception, the internet's reaction was so volatile, it was like a particle accelerator. That works. But you can't use it to interrupt a point about capital investment.
It's about knowing which room you're standing in.
Exactly.
Okay, so speaking of the internet's reaction, let's look at how the piece handled. This brings us to our second critique, significance and relevance, or, the so what fact. Problem here is that the material relies way too heavily on just reading social media comments verbatim.
Oh, this is such a common trap.
It just feels like filler.
It is.
The script spends a lot of time reading a tweet about Sweeney's smugness, and another one calling her a female clavicular.
Female clavicular? I don't even know what that means.
Well, neither does the host in the script.
That's the worst part. The narrator literally says, I have no idea what that means.
Right.
If you're the expert guiding us, and you're admitting you're confused by your own evidence, you've lost the audience.
It just creates dead air. It turns the analyst into just another confused person scrolling through the comments.
Precisely. It wastes everyone's time. We're here for insight, not a live reaction to bad grammar on X.
So the move here is to synthesize the sentiment of these comments.
Yes.
Don't just quote them directly.
Yes.
Treat the tweets as data points, not as dialogue for your script.
Yes. You have to elevate the discourse. For example, there's that long rambling tweet in the draft about Sweeney being racist or an alt-right Yahtzee.
Which is just internet noise.
Total noise. And the script reads the whole thing and then tries to refute it, which just gives it way too much credit.
It dignifies a troll comment, basically.
Totally. Instead, you just state. Critics frequently project unfounded political ideologies onto her to justify their dislike. Done.
So much tighter.
It sums up the entire paragraph in one sentence, and it keeps the authority with the narrator. You're identifying a sociological phenomenon, not getting into a mud fight.
That's a great example. And you can do the same for the Sabrina Carpenter comments, right?
You have to. The draft quotes some really graphic descriptions of her, and honestly, it felt a little voyeuristic, uncomfortable.
It distracts from the point.
Completely. We don't need the gross details. You can just summarize the archetype. You could say something like, detractors characterize her hyperfemininity as a calculated performance for the male gaze.
And that conveys the exact same information.
Exactly. But it strips away the noise and the weirdness. It sounds professional.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So let's pivot to the core of the analysis, the rivalry itself. This is our third critique, angle and originality. The weakness here is that the comparison between Sweeney and Carpenter, it lacks a defined set of criteria. It leans way too much on subjective visual cues like makeup.
This drove me a little crazy. The piece argues that men dislike Carpenter because of clown makeup or huge wigs.
Okay.
But then, almost immediately, it admits that Sweeney also wears heavy makeup on red carpets.
So the distinction falls apart.
It completely dissolves. If they're both wearing heavy makeup, why is one penalized and the other isn't? The script doesn't answer that because it's too focused on the eyeliner.
And the writer tries to use that Muppets anecdote to bridge the gap, right?
They do. And it's such a brilliant example that they just don't unpack enough.
Yeah.
The script mentions Carpenter joking about working out kinks with Kermit the Frog, but then just sort of dismisses it as boring. That is a massive missed opportunity.
Because that one joke tells you everything about our audience.
Everything. It's not about the makeup, it's about the invitation. So the suggestion here is to frame the comparison around brand archetype.
Okay, like what?
Like the relatable best friend versus the unattainable fantasy.
And how does the Muppets joke fit in there?
Well, when Sabrina Carpenter jokes about the Muppets, it's camp. It's silly. It feels like an inside joke she's sharing with her female fans.
Right.
It says, I know I look like a doll, and isn't that ridiculous? It invites women to laugh with her. It's self-aware.
Whereas Sweeney's marketing?
Sweeney's marketing, especially for this Siren line, feels like a presentation to an audience. The visuals are very serious, very sultry. There's no wink. It feels like a performance for the male gaze that women are just sort of watching from the sidelines.
That clarifies the distinction so much better. It moves the conversation from how they look to how they communicate.
And this is where you can bring in the Skims comparison properly.
Which the draft mentions but doesn't really dig into.
Not at all. Skims is solution wear. It's shapewear. You buy it because you have a problem, and Skims offers a functional solution.
It serves a purpose.
Exactly. Siren is lingerie. It's fantasy wear. It's purely aesthetic. And the barrier for a woman to buy fantasy from another woman she views as competition is incredibly high.
But they'll buy a solution from her.
They'll buy shapewear from Kim Kardashian, even if they don't like her, because the product worked. Will they buy lingerie from Sydney Sweeney if they feel threatened by her? That is the billion-dollar question.
That is a much, much stronger argument than men hate wigs.
It grounds the whole thing in actual consumer psychology.
Okay, fantastic. Let's look at how this piece wraps up then. This is our final lens, closing effectiveness. The main weakness here is that the conclusion just flat out contradicts evidence presented earlier in the piece.
It does. I caught that too.
It leaves you with no clear takeaway.
It felt like the writer just ran out of steam. The material explicitly states, with data, that Sweeney's jeans line sold well.
Right, a success story.
A total success story. They sold out. That's a hard data point. But then the conclusion is basically, we'll never find out if the lingerie line succeeds because she has a sugar daddy in Jeff Bezos.
So it just ignores the jeans.
It completely ignores the jeans. If the jeans sold well, doesn't that directly challenge the theory that women won't buy from her?
It complicates it at least.
For sure.
But the conclusion ignores that critical data point because I think the writer just liked the Bezos sugar daddy angle better. It's more cynical.
So the fix is to reconcile that conflicting data. Don't just throw your hands up. You have to make a nuanced prediction about the product category.
Yes, use the nuance we just talked about. Instead of saying we'll never know, you say something like this. The data suggests women will buy Sydney Sweeney's products if they're functional, like the jeans.
Okay.
However, the barrier to entry is much higher for aspirational, sexualized products like lingerie because of that competitiveness psychology.
That ties everything together. It validates the jeans' success while still being skeptical about the lingerie. Precisely. And then you can bring back that point from earlier about how men don't buy girlfriends' lingerie anymore.
Right.
You use that to predict that unless Sweeney can capture the female gaze, that inside joke feeling, the brand will fail organic. The investment money might keep the lights on, but it won't build a real brand.
And that's a strong analytical conclusion that actually respects all the evidence presented.
It feels earned. It changes the piece from a rant into a real forecast.
Excellent. Okay, that brings us to the end. Let's just quickly recap the actionable steps for the writer.
Let's do it.
First, structure. Group your economic facts and cultural commentary into separate pillars. Establish the business case before you analyze the cultural reaction.
Second, significance. Synthesize social media comments. Don't just read confusing quotes. Turn the noise into a clear sociological point. Third, your angle. Define the Sweeney versus Carpenter comparison by brand archetype, relatability versus fantasy. It's not about makeup, it's about communication style.
And finally, your conclusion. Resolve the contradiction between the jeans sales and the lingerie skepticism. Use that conflict to make a sharper, more nuanced prediction.
This piece really has the bones of a fantastic cultural critique. It just needs to decide what it wants to be.
Yeah, a business review or a tweet review. It can't be both at the same time.
We would love to see how this piece evolves with these shifts. Please apply these suggestions and resubmit the work. We're looking forward to seeing the next draft. Thank you for listening to The Critique.